We are holding a telehealth call with Fox 56 News Chief Medical Contributor Dr. Ryan Stanton this morning.
This morning, he's focusing on beach safety as families across the country head out of town for spring break. Doc, good morning. And, as we get into the warmer and sunnier parts of spring and summer, how do we consider sun exposure, the UV index, and protecting our skin?
Yeah, I think for us living in the Midwest, we forget in the winter about the sun and what it can potentially do to our skin, and so we get the spring break opportunity. And knowing that having children and seeing what they want to do and trying to get that tan, there's huge risk. Understanding the UV index. UV index, check it every day. The UV index takes into account the atmosphere, the sun angles, your latitude, looking at even your altitude, things of that nature. Anything over about an 8, you want to make sure that you're avoiding that mid part of the day. Make sure that you're wearing sunscreen, an SPF 30 to 50 or above, reapplying it every 2 hours or every time you go in the water, or if you're active and sweating, just making sure that you're doing those little things to protect your skin, because that is the #1 form of cancer. Many of us will experience it, some already have, and we want to make sure we protect that and decrease that risk as much as possible.
Doc, I feel like the first time that I'm in the sun in the spring and summer, I get red. And I have people that in my life that prep their skin before going on a vacation and they go to a tanning bed. What's your opinion about that process?
Well, it's kind of a double-edged sword because tanning beds, we know significant increased risk of skin cancer, skin damage. Just remember that that color change is not something healthy. That color change is the body producing melanin to protect itself because of cell-related damage, cell-level damage. And a tan beforehand does provide a small amount of SPF, which is about a 2 to 4, but not enough to make a difference. And so you want to make sure that when you're doing that, that one, ideally, cover everything. I mean, honestly, the idea of a tan in the Western Hemisphere really just came about because Coco Chanel got burned in the 1920s, and people thought it was fashionable. It honestly is not. It's skin damage. We need to be very careful. A little tone is going to cause relatively minimal damage, but anytime you have that significant burn, just keep in mind that a sun tan, especially if you turn red, is a first-degree burn, and that all that does is damage the cells. That reproduction of those cells, that repair those cells is where we have that cancer risk. So avoid it if you can, but unfortunately, we kind of know how the culture is out there right now.
Rip currents are also something to look out for, right, Doc?
Yeah, so rip currents, this is one that we don't really think about a lot being in a landlocked state, but rip currents are actually where the water's flowing out on the beach. This is something that can be identified from above if you have some altitude, but you realize how powerful nature is when you get in one. Now, rip current, the natural instinct is to try to swim as hard as you can back towards the shore. You're not going to win. The ocean is going to win all the time. So what you're going to try to do is, if you're at the beach, find yourself in rip current, is work on floating and working parallel to the beach. Once you work parallel to the beach, you're going to end up getting out of that current, and then you can work your way back up to the beach. What happens, and the drownings tend to happen when people fight against it, swimming back towards the shore, they continue to move out further, tire themselves, and then end up drowning. So working parallel, identifying them, and making sure that you're paying attention to those flags at the beach. If they are red, and especially if they're double red, make sure that you are avoiding the beach, that you have somebody, especially with young children, have somebody there. Pay attention, be careful, be safe, because a bad thing can happen quickly. We want to make sure everybody who's at the beach has a great time at the beach.
All right, Doc, thanks so much. We'll check in with you in our next hour.
Fox 56 News at 8
you.
is next.
You're watching Fox 56 News, our home, your news.